Good afternoon and welcome to the January 16th meeting of the Public Safety Legal Administration Committee. I am Andrea Boone, chair of this committee. To my left is the Honorable Ishay Collins, our newest member. Welcome. The Honorable Dustin Hillis to my left, and to my right is the Honorable Byron D. Amos. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by the Honorable Dustin Hillis, seconded by the Honorable Byron D. Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda is adopted.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by the Honorable Dustin Hillis, seconded by the Honorable Byron Amos. Please open the vote.
Vote is closed. Is it? No. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes are approved.
At this time, I would like to nominate the Honorable Dustin Hillis to serve as the vice chair of this committee. Are there any other nominations? All in favor of appointing Councilmember Dustin Hillis? We need a second. Do we have a second? Seconded by the Honorable Byron Amos. All in favor of appointing the Honorable Dustin Hillis as the vice chair? Any objections?
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. Councilmember Hillis is the vice chair of the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee.
Congratulations, Councilmember Dustin Hillis has been elected as the vice chair of the 2025 Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee. Congratulations. The 2025 goals and objectives have been distributed to all members for your review. Please send any recommendations for goals and objectives to myself and Mr. Mark Overton by Friday, January 24th. We should be prepared to review and adopt them by Monday, January 27th. We have been joined by the Honorable Mary Norwood. It is now time for public speaking. First speaker, J. Wesley Day, followed by A. James.
Good afternoon. Once again, my name is J. Wesley Day. I continue to fight for justice. I never thought that justice would be so hard to find in the city of Atlanta, particularly coming from Chicago, Brooklyn, New York. I doubt that it would take 7 years to prosecute a case when it's on video camera of me being taunted with homophobic slurs and epithets in the city that claims to be too busy to hate. And it saddens me because no one appears to care within leadership. I totally understand that this is a Fulton County issue, but as a leader, you all should be concerned. We wonder why people take matters into their own hands. Is because they can't depend on the police force, the criminal justice system to give them due justice. It should never take 7 years and no one's been prosecuted. 2 people have been indicted. However, I continue to receive veiled threats from those in charge, like Keith Gamage, Fonnie Willis' office. I've been removed for just asking a question at Keith Gamage's office by 9 officers. I thought that was the people's office. Fonnie Willis did the same thing. Inquiring about the process of my case, I was removed. And there's been other veiled threats with Keith Gamage calling me, telling me, I wish you stop defaming my name. And I've done a timeline. And if you look at my timeline that I'll give you in the next meeting, you will see that any time that I've done a protest or that I have spoken out against Keith Gamage and the criminal justice system, you will immediately see he took action almost immediately, either by escalating my case, my misdemeanor to a felony, or adding charges to my case, causing me to lose my job with Delta Airlines twice. Even when I went to my then councilman, who I helped support, who I went to events with in support of his campaign to be where he is now. He ignored all my calls. I met him downstairs in passing, asked can I meet with him. He declined. I've emailed his office several times to receive no response. I just ask that you all care about citizens receiving justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, James A. James. We will now go to our committee reports. We also, at this time, we would like to recognize and acknowledge all of those in the city of Atlanta who helped with the snow and ice event. Atlanta Police Department, AFRD, Corrections, Emergency Management, Mr. Felipe, Georgia Power, ADOT, Solomon Cavanis, Alan Smith, Public Works, Watershed Management, Parks and Recreation, all of our faith-based partners. You are to be commended for the wonderful, outstanding work during our snow event over the weekend. Congratulations to everyone. Thank you. Deputy Chief Smith. Chief, before you start, we also would like to thank those in the office of Mayor Andre Dickens, our COO, Ms. Burks, Mr. Theo Pace, our Deputy Chief of Staff, the Honorable Mayor Andre Dickens. They were on the ground visiting shelters, working on making sure that Georgia Power and everyone had the support that was needed. We are very proud to be members of the City of Atlanta residents today. Thank you.
Thank you for that, ma'am. That was much appreciated, and yes, it was a big effort all over the weekend, so everybody you mentioned did a fantastic job. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you at the new year. Happy to be here. We're going to talk about a few things. Crime, I do want to preface these. I'm going to give you an initial report, which is the last couple of weeks. We were very early in January, and obviously we're coming off a huge weather event, so we don't expect these to hold. These are just the last couple of weeks. Chief Shearbaum is going to be here in a couple of weeks to do the end of year report out, and that's where you get a deep dive into the stats for 2024. So we'll just stick with 2025 for today, and I'll answer any questions that you may have. Yes, we've had multiple events, including the winter weather emergency. We had the Peach Drop. We had the Peach Bowl the following day. We have college football championship coming up. That will be all hands on deck starting on Friday through Tuesday, and we are well prepared. There's a plan in long plan in place from Deputy Chief Hampton that he's been working on, and so that will all be enacting as you see over the weekend. So crime as it stands for the first couple of weeks in January. Last week we were down 21%. The last 28 days we're down 7%. And overall for the year we're down 24%. Again, those are a little inflated because of the weather, so those are not going to hold. We don't expect them to hold. But things are looking good. I do want to point to a couple of good works that we've seen recently, and it really just speaks to the group effort that these investigations take. I'm going to highlight a little bit in our criminal investigative division. Normally I work in FOD, so I'm a little biased, I'm a little partial to our 911 responders, but I do want to give credit to our CID unit, which is absolutely integral to solving our crimes. They had worked a case, our SVU unit had worked an assault case, and that happened back in November. And our Zone 1 CSU team, they were notified of the suspect. They started doing some digging, found out where he worked, and one of our CSU officers went home on vacation and was called the next day for the suspect showing up at work. That officer who was on vacation grabbed his take-home car and rolled into work and was able to apprehend this subject from where he worked as just a testament to show the dedication, the great work on our SVU unit, and then again, the take-home car program, kind of some of the benefits we're seeing from that. He came in from his vacation and got that subject in custody. So the violent felon, that was a great case. Another one I'd like to point to is our great robbery investigators. There was a robbery that took place at 250 Far Road, and the detectives immediately started working the case. They used our camera network and developed some leads, ended up developing some other leads through some other investigative means, which we'll kind of not talk about. And they were able to identify the suspect, and the suspect had multiple arrest warrants. He was a convicted felon. He was on probation, and he had robbed a postal worker. So the Postal Service also, the federal government also pressed charges in that case. He had robbed her at gunpoint. So again, using the technology that we have, our dedicated detectives, they did a fantastic job on that case, partnered up with the Postal Service, and hopefully we'll have some really good outcomes on that case when it goes to trial. And the last case I want to touch on is our airport. I know that's been a point recently we've talked about, and on January 3rd, dispatch received a call of somebody that was breaking into vehicles in the parking deck. The airport had a very robust response, and Major Collier ended up spotting the subject, and after a brief foot chase, that subject was detained and arrested. That subject, so this took place on January 3rd, that subject was released from prison on December 27th, 2024. So 6 days later, he was out committing more felonies. He was on active parole, so our CID units are working with the parole board to get that revoked. His criminal history includes aggravated assault, robbery, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. So that's just a taste of the few good works that we've had going on in January so far, and we're only 12 days into the year. We're going to continue to do what we do, and hopefully we'll have a very successful. We're very proud of 2024 and how that turned out, and we got a lot of major events coming, as you all know. So I'm open to any questions.
We have been joined by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Do we have any questions or concerns from members? The Honorable Antonio Lewis.
My question would be surrounding just making sure you all are reaching out to the family of Zakiya Smith, Ms. Brittany Harp, just making sure that the APD, she's getting some type of information about the updates or anything on the case of the murder of Zakiya Smith.
They normally are contacted regularly. I will ensure that that has been happening in that case also.
So I asked because she's not getting communication.
Okay.
So if you can, please reach out to Ms. Brittany Harp, mother of Zakiya Smith. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The Honorable Ishay Collins.
Guess I gotta get used to that. You're gonna say, just call me Ishay. Just for clarity, looking at the citywide report. So what does the column of 28D and 28D previously?
That's the previous 28 days. D stands for day.
Got
so
it.
we work in 28-day cycles. Our crime is by week, so it's every 7 days. So when you see the 7D, that's 7 day, 28D is 28 day.
Okay, great, thank you. And so then, of course, the year to date versus the year to date previously is just encompassing the two weeks of this year so far.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarity, thank you.
And if you ever want clarification on that stuff, you're happy to reach out to me offline and I can explain everything.
The Honorable Antonio Lewis.
And I know we said crime was down, but I'm looking at violent crime in the city. And year to date says homicide is up by 100% and aggravated assault is up by 42%.
So 4 versus 2.
And
Yes.
the other one is 91 versus 64.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. So
yes.
are we working on anything to make sure are we seeing any upticks around the country? Is this anything going on?
No, nothing specific is going on. We're doing a dive into those numbers. A lot of those numbers, some are the result of domestic violence issues, escalating people that know each other, escalating disputes, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear from Chief Smith, Atlanta Fire and Rescue Department. And Chief, as you come, we would like to thank you and your entire team for the support that you all have given Miss Claudia Nash during this time. She is a very dedicated and diligent servant. She has meant so much to the city of Atlanta for nearly 50 years. So we just want to thank you all so much. Whatever we can do to support you all in that endeavor, she is part of our family and the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Smith, and for all of the calls you all received over the past weekend for our seniors, and checking on the warming centers and all of the calls that you all took, and it was just great. Thank you for a great performance.
Thank you so much for your support always. And Happy New Year, council members, Chairman Boone, council members, and our newly elected council member, Ms. Collins. Welcome to the council and the Public Safety Committee. It's my pleasure today to be here on behalf of the members of Atlanta Fire Rescue and supported by the executive staff to present to you the second quarter metrics for Atlanta Fire Rescue, which is inclusive of October through December. It is our goal always to make sure that our members are working in the safest possible environment, meeting all our recruiting and hiring needs, and we are enhancing the initiatives and accomplishments of Atlanta Fire Rescue. And we will continue to work with you on the council to ensure that we review and monitor our emergency services, make sure the conditions and needs of our fleet and facilities are met, and maintain competitive compensation for our members. We will start with our service metrics for downtown and the airport, and these are the numbers representing calls for service. These are the calls that come into 911. And so you can see those numbers that we have coming in, comparative year over year, quarter two. You'll see 11%, roughly 11% increase for the downtown calls and a 2% increase for the airport calls. I'll go on to the next slide, and if you have any questions, I can come back. But essentially, we like to focus on situations found. And situations found are the reports that are done by the members that are responding to the calls. And so they give us a little more insight as to where that service is provided throughout the city and the types of services that we provide. If you look at quarter two for fiscal year 25, you will see an increase in EMS calls, which is the lion's share of the calls we run. It is at an increase or a change of 18%. You will see other services, which we will define for you here shortly. It is up by 7.1%. You look at EMS calls at the airport. We do have 5 stations at the airport and approximately 250 members that are assigned to the airport. Their service is represented by running 3,800 calls during that fiscal year period. During that quarter, however, they ran 1,700 EMS calls. Correction. The total number of calls at the airport for the fiscal year is 6,372. I was referencing the total number of EMS calls at the airport for the fiscal year previously. However, you will see a change of 3% for those calls and a negative of 2% in other service calls. Here is where we break the service metrics down, situations found for downtown. You can look a little more forensically at the types of calls that we run, EMS, ALS calls, as well as our basic life support calls. You will see that the basic life support calls are the lion's share of the calls that Atlanta Fire Rescue runs. For the second quarter, you will notice that the total number of EMS calls is 8,599, and that is representative of that 18% increase I was sharing with you on a previous slide. There's no rhyme or reason behind EMS calls. We just want to make sure that we are there to provide the services that are necessary, and thus far we've been able to satisfactorily do so to meet the public's needs. If you look down at the other service calls, that represents a large share of our calls, which is approximately 11,414 calls. There's a variety of calls that we group in this category, particularly the non-EMS calls, the false alarm calls, the alarm bells, the non-technical rescues, good intent calls, things of those nature. And so you will see those numbers represented there. You look at the next slide, we've done the same thing for the airport, where you can see the total number of EMS calls, and you can see the breakout of those. The largest majority of calls at the airports are basic life support as well. And you will see that the total number of EMS calls there is representative of the 1180. You will see a decline, which is good, in EMS calls, but we will continue to make sure that we are prepared to run those calls. And then below that, you will see, as I shared with you before, the other service calls that are represented at the airport. Next slide, you will see downtown inspections. We have a code enforcement section that covers downtown as well as airport operations. The downtown group, I believe, is about 40 members. And you will see the numbers that are representative of the inspections that were done during the second quarter. You will notice that there is roughly a 29% decrease in the number of code enforcement activities, and that is due to vacancies and additional positions created. We are looking for those numbers to be substantially higher in the third quarter of this fiscal year when we report out. As we've been working very diligently to fill those vacant positions and make sure that the code enforcement members have the certifications that are necessary to carry out those duties. Next, you will see, this is the slide for airport activity. You will see that those numbers are also reflective of staffing challenges as it relates to facility inspections. However, the ramp and fueling operations are guided by FAA. And so we are duty bound to make sure that we make those numbers. And so you will see those numbers take a priority over the facilities inspections. And so that's why you will see those numbers are consistent in spite of the transition of personnel that are assigned to the airport. Next, you will see our recruiting and our hiring. Our recruiting and our hiring slide, which is representative of our activities in recruiting. You will see as of, and the dates that they have, as of June 30th, 2024, that 26 members were hired. More importantly, you will see out to the right, we have a total of approximately 104 recruits in recruit school. Our target number is 120 in recruit school, and have it to maintain an evergreen process of hiring and keeping members in training so that we continue to address the attrition in the department. And we are excited about an upcoming graduation that is potentially scheduled for January the 20th, where we will have approximately 30 members to enter field operations for Atlanta Fire Rescue. Next, you will see our hiring attrition numbers. We always like to look at the net. We know we have people going out of the door and people coming in. And so what you will see is our net numbers for sworn for those 3 months, October, November, December, were +5. And for civilian positions, they are +9. So you can see we are aggressively trying to move into the space of hiring as many people as we can, filling the vacancies of Atlanta Fire Rescue. As I've shared with you before, the biggest challenge for Atlanta Fire Rescue, unlike APD, is not getting people to apply for the positions. It is the bandwidth in which we can train members. Our training staff and our training center currently can only hold 120 people. And so those members are in active training for upwards of 12 to 14 months. So it is very difficult for us to take other members on to train. Here you will see Atlanta Fire Rescue, and as you alluded to, Councilmember Boone, up under not just Ms. Nash, but the education team for Atlanta Fire Rescue, as well as our operations group. We take our engagement in the community very seriously, and we make it a priority to intentionally get out into the community when the red lights are not on, to make sure that we are helping and showing that we are there. And so you will see numerous activities that we participate in across the city. And this is just a a testament to the men and women of Atlanta Fire Rescue who not only will answer the calls of need, but we will go out and help when the lights are not going on and there is not an emergency. We are compassionate about our communities and making sure that we are serving during those times. And here we have the questions page. Looking at presentation, I think we've omitted a couple of slides that we usually have in here. One is about the fleet that we've grown to talk about very frequently, as well as our facilities. As of date, the latest order for engines, we have made a request of fleet services for 8 engines and 11 ladders. The funding is in place through the legislation that passed through. So thank you for your support in that space. As well as we are moving forward with the facilities. Station 22 on Hollywood Road is now occupied, and we are anticipating a ribbon cutting being scheduled very soon. And so we will make sure that that invite gets out to each and every one of you. Councilmember Hillis, I'm sure you are excited about Station 22, as I am. It's been many years coming. So the members are excited as well. And we'll continue to work in that space. Councilmember Lewis, Station 30 was demolished last year, and the groundwork and the footing is now being done at that location. So we are on stride to continue that construction. So we are very anxious to get that station open as quickly as possible. And we are still in the posture of scheduling a ribbon cutting, I believe, or excuse me, yes, a ribbon cutting for Station 26, I believe is scheduled for the upcoming week. And we will make sure that we get that out as well. Station 25 and Station 31, they are all in movement. So I just wanted to make sure that you know that the efforts for replacing and new builds of fire stations is constantly moving. And with that, I will open up the floor for any questions that you may have for me.
The Honorable Vice Chair Dustin Hillis.
Thank you, Chairwoman Boone. Thank you, Chief Smith. First few things, as you kind of read my mind, I was just requesting that we still include the fleet updates, an extensive fleet update as to where we are and some ETAs on the equipment we've already ordered and what is soon to be ordered or just was just ordered. Okay. And then, of course, the station updates as to those that are, with 22 thankfully completed or in progress, and then maybe the next 5 or 10 that right now seem to be in queue for either renovations or upgrades.
Okay.
And then another thing I wanted to request, this came up last year, time or two after some unfortunate fires, is I know that you provide just a one-pager, simple numerical on fire inspections, which again became an issue last year with some of the fires, one just over in Councilmember Norwood's district on Howell Mill Road, but just kind of a couple slides on where we are with possibly updating the fire code to be more stringent on requirements for these inspections. How many would you all have to perform a year if they were a yearly requirement? What you all do? I know the quarterly numbers are in here, but what was all done in calendar year 2024, and just a couple pages on a deep dive into fire inspections and where we are with those.
Okay. We definitely can provide that information to you.
And again, looking forward to the big ribbon cutting on 22. As you stated, it's been a long time coming, and I know the firefighters there are happy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The Honorable Byron D. Amos.
Yes, sir. Hello, Chief. First and foremost, thank you to the men and women of Fire Station 16 and to Atlanta Fire Rescue for the wonderful Station 16 Christmas party. I think this is the 54th year, I believe, that we've been doing this, so it's always a spectacular event, and it is growing. Looking forward to this year as well. The program we was doing with getting kids on track out of high school into fire services, how is that going?
We are working to retool that program right now. And we're talking very closely with the foundation, making some changes. But that program, one, it is not going away. And our intent is to hire as many kids as we can out of APS.
Good. Citizens Fire Academy, when is the next one?
We're working with the training chief now to schedule one tentatively in the spring. Our goal is we'd love to have it at the new training center.
Okay.
As a kickoff.
And then I see Deputy Police Chief walked back in. That's good because I'm gonna need both of you guys' help. Meeting with some of my colleagues from National League of Cities, who is actually the president of council from Birmingham. He actually asked me if we were sending teams down to the World Police and Fire Games, hosted in Birmingham, Alabama. And I put my foot in my mouth by saying, yeah, we sending a team and we're gonna bring back gold. Okay. So I hope we are sending a team down, but it's end of June, beginning of July, the World Police and Fire Games. I know we have many athletes in our fire service and police service, and plus to just brag to Birmingham that we are Atlanta. I like to go back and do that. So hope you guys can help me out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions, other questions from the body? The Honorable Mary Norwood.
Yes, we're now getting ready to build Fire Station 26. So where are the men and women being housed right now?
So we have relocated the engine to Station 27 on Northside Drive, and the ladder truck is at Station 8 on Marietta Boulevard.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from the body? Chief, again, thank you. We'd like for each one of your staff members to come up to the mic and give us their official titles. Okay. They do such a great job, and we speak with them. Thank you all. Y'all come on up. Thank y'all. Y'all did a great job. Y'all didn't get much sleep this weekend.
Thank you. I'm Jason Wozniak, the Deputy Chief of EMS.
Thank you all so much. Dwayne Johnson, Sr., Acting Deputy Chief of Field Operations. Don't get me confused with the other guy.
Thank you so much. It's Stephen Hill. I'm a Deputy Chief of Support Services.
Support Services? Okay, thank you.
Ray Hampton, Chief of Staff under Fire Chief Rossman.
Ray, thank you for all you do. We speak with you a lot, and we see you a lot. So thank you so much for all you do. Try to get some sleep.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jolian Bundridge, Deputy Chief of Aviation Fire Division.
Afternoon, David Bohatch, Deputy Chief of Technical Services.
Good afternoon, Allie Slocum, Communications Director.
Thank you all so much. Come on up.
Okay.
McLemore.
Again, James McLemore, First Deputy Chief.
McLemore, he's great. Let's give them a hand, everybody. Great job for the people of Atlanta. We appreciate you all so much for just being on the ground and taking care of those vulnerable citizens. Thank you again. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, that takes us to our consent agenda. We'll first take action on our favorable and unfavorable claims.
Can we have a motion to approve the favorable claims moved by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, seconded by the Honorable Vice Chair Dustin Hillis? Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The unfavorable claims, or the favorable claims carry.
Can we have a motion to adverse the unfavorable claims moved by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, seconded by the Honorable Vice Chair Dustin Hillis? Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The unfavorable claims carry. Madam Chair, that brings us to our ordinances for first reading, starting with item number 1, 25-01027, an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee amending the 2025 Intergovernmental Grant Fund budget, Department of Police, by adding to anticipations and appropriations in the amount of $562,879.00 for the 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Award from the United States Department of Justice and for other purposes. Madam Chair, that brings us to our regular agenda, starting with resolutions. In item number 2, 25R3071, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta and Department of Parks and Recreation to enter into Amendment Number 4 to the agreement IFB-S-1220215B on-call post-certified officers with Metropolitan Security Associates Incorporated to add funding in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000.00 for the purpose of providing security needs at the Centers of Hope Recreation Center and various other parks and recreation sites, and for other purposes.
Deputy Commissioner Voss,
Good
welcome.
afternoon, Madam Chair and members of council. Doug Voss, Department of Parks and Recreation. This resolution adds funding and a new account string to a current agreement to provide security, traffic control, and other necessary security services to 12 outdoor pools, football, basketball, baseball, all of our recreational activities throughout the year, as well as provide additional security to park sites. This contract has 2 vendors on it. If you remember, we came forward last year. They have different term dates. So this is a funding paper to ensure that both contracts have proper funding. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
The Honorable Dustin Hillis.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Voss. A few questions I had is, I know, number one, because it's spelled out in the legislation that these are to be post-certified officers, and although it's not spelled out in the legislation, the City Council, I believe last year, passed a ordinance stating that any city contract let for a city department had to be basically officers with a jurisdiction within inside the city of Atlanta. So in short, APD, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Georgia State Patrol, a handful of others. It has come to my attention that this particular vendor, you stated there were 2. This particular vendor was possibly caught not only using non-City of Atlanta officers or without jurisdiction within the City of Atlanta, but also caught using simply armed security officers, not even post-certified officers. And I believe a DPR employee referred this vendor to the Department of Procurement, which I don't know if we have anyone here for. So I would like to hear from both parks, and if there is an active investigation, you may defer to procurement, but I would also like to hear for procurement. So if you have anything to say to that now?
No, I do believe that we have had an instance of that, what you speak of. Multiple times we'll have multiple officers at one occasion to be staffing a certain event. And my understanding is yes, is I think in one case there was a discrepancy of whether the person was what they call post-certified. I think that's still up for debate on that one instance. We did take that to procurement. That's being adjudicated properly. And we would always make sure that that vendor has an opportunity to defend themselves and talk about what happened and make corrections. And I believe that's the case. This contract allows for you to have both APD officers and, as long as they're post-certified, not necessarily APD officers, or even for that matter that they have to have jurisdiction. I believe the ordinance that you're speaking of actually came after this bid was completed, and I'll let the law department, if they have anything to say regarding that. I will tell you that whenever we have any type of events, we do prefer to have an officer that is actually APD or at least have jurisdiction. It just makes sense because they're in radio communication. So in certain of our events, we might have multiple officers. They might be from different jurisdictions. But in general, we're always going to have at least someone there with APD jurisdiction if we need to do a citation, if we need to get on the radio quickly. And that seems to be working pretty well. So that's how we function. As you know, like at football games, we might have 5 or 6 officers at just one site, depending on what the event might be. I hope that helps.
Ms. Robinson, did you have anything to add to that? Was this grandfathered in, so to speak?
Good afternoon, Amber A. Robinson, City of Atlanta, Department of Law. That's correct. This contract was originally awarded pursuant to 22 R4148 and around 2022. And the code was amended to add, the procurement code was amended to add 2-1216, requiring off-duty post-certified law enforcement officers having original jurisdiction in procurement when in contracting where it's required. That passed pursuant to 24-1063 on around February 28, 2024. So that was a subsequent ordinance. That would apply to anything that comes after that. But a contract existing prior to that would not have been affected by the passage of this ordinance.
And that would even include further amendments to that same contract?
Because this amendment is sticking to the scope of work pursuant the original scope of work, hence why it can be done pursuant to a resolution, yes, it would take a waiver of the code, frankly, to amend a contract such as this in order to change the scope, even if change the scope means to be in compliance with current law. So could that happen? Yes, but it would be understood that the general amendments that would flow from the original contract and the original scope of work would maintain that original scope of work.
So I do understand that part of it. I do still have concern about this particular contractor using not even someone without original jurisdiction, but someone not even post-certified. So would like to hear from, have a meeting with possibly Parks and Procurement to go into details of that, whether that has been resolved, fully investigated, whether it's closed, what was found, et cetera. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to hold this item until that can occur.
Second.
Can we repeat the seconder, please?
Councilmember Boone. We have speakers in the queue, the Honorable Antonio Lewis, followed by the Honorable Ishe Collins.
And speaking as a Parks and Rec baby, and who played on the fields, who, when I was growing up, there used to be large fights, and they just weren't taking care of them. I'm speaking as a person, as a fan now, as an assistant coach, and I feel safety in another kind of way when I attend events. And so my question to you is, how long have we had this contract? Because same exact park and rec system, but you can look at social media, you don't see the social media trending fighting videos of Atlanta Parks and Recreation. So I was thinking we're doing a great job on the current contract. So my question to you first is, how long have we had this contract?
I think I'll refer to Amber. She had the dates. I think it's close to a year and a half.
This, excuse me, Amber A. Robinson, City of Atlanta Department of Law. The resolution that authorized this contract originally is 22 R 4148, which was adopted as amended by the Atlanta City Council on August 15, 2022.
So, and speaking as a person who is, we just play basketball as a Roselle fan. I know Councilmember Amos has a district with all the football fields, and so, and I'm not on the CDHS committee, so I would probably follow one of my constituent and people from that committee. Thank you again for the answer. Thank you.
The Honorable Ishe Collins.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. So just make sure I'm clear. So Councilman Hillis, you're asking for them to investigate more details on that one incident based on someone not being post-certified?
Yes, because it's in the original agreement that they do have to be post-certified. And I'm just asking to have a meeting with procurement and DPR to learn more details of that investigation. To my understanding, it was referred to procurement from someone in Parks. So I just don't know what happened to it once they got to procurement.
Okay.
I just haven't heard any more about it. So I just want to get some more details and see where that investigation is, if it's concluded, if so, what it concluded, et cetera.
And so then you're saying, and so just so I'm clear, Amber, you're saying that the contract they've already been providing services to us for almost, for 2 years, going into 3 years. So holding this won't stop any of the services they're already providing. I guess my concern, this part of the hold, is that was this one isolated incident rise to the level enough to potentially hold something that we know is benefiting our centers But that was the question I just had. Was it just this only isolated incident?
To your point, yes, that's the incident. We were made aware of that incident. They've been easy to work with. We have met with procurement. Happy to meet and make sure every hearts and minds are closed with Councilmember Hillis on that. That's not an issue. They are providing services now. They have performed as expected. And, you know, when we do, I'm proud of our team. If they notified us of something they think was not right, they brought it to our attention, and DOP did assist in those meetings. I believe those meetings were held in November and December. And we have not known of any future issues since that time. They are providing services now, and I don't know of any other outstanding issues. But I'm happy to hold it if we'd like to have that conversation, Councilmember Hillis and others, just to make sure that hearts and minds are clear.
Okay, thank you.
The Honorable Byron D. Amos.
Yes, sir. Familiar with this company is very disheartening to hear these allegations, but glad to hear you guys are on top of it. Same thing I would ask of any contract. If this happened again, do we have an out?
We do, and procurement's very clear. As I mentioned, I think our procurement department is very good about bringing these items to the vendor's attention, making sure they're aware and giving them a chance to respond. I believe they have, but happy to follow through on that.
And I think I heard that holding it for another cycle will not hurt timelines or
I do not think
anything.
so. No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The Honorable Antonio Lewis. So I definitely am in support of holding it. We have to let contractors know that we are watching them. I have seen some things at Midnight Basketball that I was not happy with, and I definitely want to make sure that we are paying for the level of protection that we are truly getting. So I would like to second that motion to hold. Please open the vote.
We have a motion to hold brought forth by Councilmember Hillis, seconded by Councilmember Voon. Please open the vote.
Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. That is 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is held.
Thank you.
And that brings us to item number 3, 25R3072, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Elizabeth Eisen Lane v. City of Atlanta et al., civil action file number 23EV005719, pending in the State Court of Fulton County in the amount of $18,000.00. Authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from 1001 General Fund, Center number 200101, non-departmental, account 5212005, litigation expenses, and functional activity number 1512000, accounting, and for other purposes.
Law Department.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney.
I'm here also with my deputy in charge of litigation, who is Mr. Torrey Smith, and we can provide any answers to any questions you have. This particular matter arises from a slip and fall at a condition that we actually had prior notice about, so we're just trying to reimburse the claimant for the expenses that they incurred.
Thank you. Move approval. Seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. The item is favorable. 6 yeas, 0 nays. Next up is item number 4, 25R3073, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Crystal Ford, Garland of Tyrone Edwards v. City of Atlanta, civil action file number 23EV008249, pending in the State Court of Fulton County in the amount of $7,990.00, authorizing the settlement to be charged to and paid from 1001 General Fund, Center number 200101, non-departmental, account 5212005, litigation expenses, and functional activity number 1512000, and for other purposes.
Law Department, please.
Good afternoon. Torrey Smith, Deputy City Attorney over Litigation and Claims. This claim arose from a minor child, Tyrone Edwards. It's brought on behalf from his mother. It's brought from his mother, thank you, as guardian of Tyrone, and it was to reimburse expenses, medical expenses, for a incident that happened at a rec center where a pole was dislodged and fell on the young man. So those were the allegations in the complaint.
The Honorable Dustin Hillis has a question.
So, it's been a while since I brought this up, but when I was chair of public safety and we had a former city attorney, is we get these settlements pretty much every meeting. But then if a question is asked, no one can ever tell us, or at least that time, has the issue been fixed? Whether it's potholes, premises liability, et cetera. So that would be an important detail that I would want to know about these settlements, including the previous one that we just sent forward and this one. So do you have knowledge or details as to what caused these premises liability issues? Has that been tended to?
Well,
Because I would hate for us to be in the news that it happened again. I'm like, hey, they just keep approving these settlements. City council doesn't ask any questions.
Understood. For the particular case, the Crystal Ford as guardian for Tyrone Edwards, that was not a static condition. That was a temporary condition that it is my understanding it was fixed. It was a pole that had dislodged and fell to the ground, and so it was removed, and it's not a continuing problem.
And the previous item?
For the previous item, the address of that,
What I can tell you is I can guarantee you we will continue to have trip and fall accidents. It's situations where the city has been notified but not had the opportunity to correct and cure. It's just the nature of what happens when you have 900 some odd miles of streets and you have sidewalks that do fall into disrepair, they get injured. So that I can tell you, Councilwoman.
No, I understand that they're going to keep
That
coming
was a
because this is a large city, but they shouldn't keep coming at the same places
Right.
in a city that hasn't resurfaced a number of its roads in 3 decades.
They will vary from location to location. In this case, we did find out the address, and he'll be able to give it to you. This happened on 12th Street, and that's generally not an area that we get a lot of disrepair. But we will follow up on that request going forward. It has not been requested in my tenure, but we'll get it going forward.
Thank you.
Move approval. Seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. And that brings us to item number 5, 25R3074, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Abraham Millsap and Yomali Brady v. City of Atlanta et al., civil action file number 24CV000307, pending in Superior Court of Fulton County in the amount of $2,400.00, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from 1001 General Fund, Center number 200101, non-departmental account 5212005, litigation expenses, and functional activity number 1512000, accounting, and for other purposes.
This case is a case which the city disputes, but in the interest of judicial economy, it was in the best interest of the city to settle this matter. It arises out of an allegation of police officers who failed and improperly reported on an incident of a car accident when they responded to the scene. There were several alleged and some documented erroneous documentation of the accident, which led to damages of the plaintiffs in that case.
Moved by the Honorable Mary Norwood, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
Vote is open.
The record, I know it's stated $2,400.00, but in parentheses it's $6,000. So I didn't know if that just needed to be corrected for the record. to ensure there's no confusion on what the actual approved amount will be seeking. So just want to bring that up.
Mr. Overton?
We can make a correction. It's a Scrivener's error. It's a typo. We can make that correction for full council.
The Honorable Vice Chair Dustin Hillis.
And then not only that, but the staff comment stated it's $3,600, so we have three different amounts here.
The issue is that there are two plaintiffs. One plaintiff is Mr. Millsap, and the other plaintiff is Ms. Brady. Ms.
Could you
Millsap.
explain which one gets what?
Which one gets one?
We just need a substitute or amendment before this goes.
Yes, so plaintiff Millsap was, the agreement was for $2,400 for plaintiff Millsap and $3,600 for plaintiff Brady. So the total is $6,000.
But the resolution still needs correction because it still states two different amounts, as Councilmember Collins stated. So I'll make a motion to hold with no recommendation or.
These are time sensitive. These people are waiting on payments
Well,
because.
when we do this, it still goes before council. Y'all just need to have a substitute before Monday.
We can move it on Monday, Madam City Attorney. If you all would just make that correction, we can do that so that the citizens can receive their funds.
Okay, we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will rescind my motion to approve and do a motion to send forward with no recommendation on condition that we get the correct copy.
Seconded by the Honorable Dustin Hillis, moved by Councilmember Mary Norwood. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. That it's 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is moved forward on condition.
This concludes our legislative items. Do we have any questions or concerns from the body? We would like to introduce our new analyst and his staff, Mr. Mark Overton. Please introduce your other staff members.
We have Nwanakama Wami, our legislative assistant. In training is Ms. Averia Price, and Mr. Dennis Conway, who you're all familiar with, is our parliamentarian. So we'll be assisting you guys this year.
And we just heard from Madam City Attorney and Mr. Smith. Now Ms. Amber Robinson, City of Atlanta Law Department, and Mr. Arnold Scott, our technical advisor. Thank you so much. And we look forward to a great 2025. Again, we would like to thank all members of the City of Atlanta staff that supported the snow event on this past weekend. Wonderful, wonderful performance. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.